Hello and welcome to VideoNet's series of IBC 2017 video interviews. I'm Barry Flynn, contributing editor at VideoNet, and with me I have Anthony Zuyderhoff, Senior Vice President, General Manager, International CPE at ARRIS, whose pay TV and broadband solutions cover the network, back office, head end and home. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you.
This year, one of your major announcements is about a new portfolio of UHD HDR set-top boxes incorporating Android TV. Right. Why Android TV and why now?
It's a good question. Over the last few years, we've seen a lot of interest in Android. However, some operators, particularly the Tier 1 operators, have been concerned about some of the requirements around Android. And we've seen over the past 12 months with the Android TV introduction, and particularly the operator tier version of that some of these concerns have been really alleviated, and we've seen a real uptick in interest from Tier 1 operators, looking at all of the benefits that Android can bring, including the flexibility, time to market, etc. So we felt it was time to really invest and use the skills that ARRIS can bring, both on the hardware as well as the professional services side, to really focus on a new portfolio, which is what we're announcing and showing at the show this year.
All right, okay. So one of the things I'm intrigued by is that the set-top boxes come with professional services to help simplify things for operators.
Right.
Why exactly is there a need for that now?
Right. That's it's interesting because Android TV. Lots of people think that Android set-top box is just that. It's just a box. You put it in a network and it works. Obviously, there's a bit more complexity to that. In particular, in the broadcast space, DVB space, the conditional access requirements. And these are all areas of strength. ARRIS has been known as being a strong integrator of all of these different solutions and offering packaged solutions to operators. Android is no different. And we do have a very strong professional services team that can take operators from even the decision point whether or not Android is the right type of solution through the implementation of Android, the integration of these various components. And again, back to the earlier point about operator tier. Operator tier allows the operator to have their own UI, their own launcher, custom launcher, which is seen as a big benefit. That's an area that our professional services team could help either integrate a third party or actually create that environment for the operator. And then furthermore, during the lifecycle management of Android, there are requirements that Google has, which are quarterly updates of Android. And those are areas that the professional services team could help the operator navigate through as there are new versions of Android, which is one of the benefits. Lots of new features come on a regular basis. So that's an area that we also feel is important. So these are optional services, but really offer a portfolio of solutions, not just a hardware set-top box.
Understood. So there's been a lot of noise around Android TV in the lead into this year's show. Does that imply that the alternative approaches to Android, like Android open source project, are dead in the water now, and it's all about Android TV and the operator tier version you mentioned?
Listen, I think there'll be choice in the market, which actually, to be frank, extends beyond Android. Android is certainly, as I said, making a sort of a resurgence of interest, but that leaves a lot of room still for other solutions. We are still going to be heavily invested in working with operators on RDK, other integrations, whether it be Cisco or Nagra or others. And AOSP is another option for operators. However, where we look at the strengths of ARRIS and our focus on Tier 1 operators, we really feel that the Android operator tier is the right area for us to invest in and differentiate. And we're seeing some success. We haven't announced it publicly yet, but we have our first Tier 1 operator win in this space. Others are in the pipeline. So we feel that this strategy of focusing in that area is the right one for ARRIS.
So one of the significant things about the Android announcement is that it concerns a 4K box, which is obviously reflects what you perceive to be an industry trend as well. Have all the issues here been ironed out, like HDR, which the new portfolio supports?
It does fully support it. So there has been different standards around HDR, different profiles, etc. So what we focused on is really choosing the right silicon that supports multiple profiles, because obviously we're not sure exactly which profile may bubble to the top as the as the majority. So it's important that operators don't sink investment in a box that later on becomes obsolete. And some of the early adoption of 4K, we are seeing already a refresh of some of that, because some of those early pieces of silicon, early boxes, didn't support all of these profiles. So this new portfolio addresses that, because we've really covered the majority of those profiles. And you could say, well, why not an HD version of Android as an example? And we'll certainly look at that, but we are seeing it matches well. I mean, the Android requirements tend it to be a more mid to higher end box because of the experience that comes with it. It's a bit more memory, a little bit more horsepower on the set-top box. So that lends itself well for a 4K capable box. Doesn't mean that operators need to deploy 4K day one, but they at least are investing in something that is future-proof, that they can go and introduce that service at a later date.
I also note that the Android products offer Wi-Fi connectivity. 4K is going to put a bit of a strain on your average home network, isn't it?
That's good point. So these boxes have Wi-Fi as an option. However, we are seeing a lot more adoption of Wi-Fi set-top boxes. Consumers just love the flexibility of having a box that doesn't require wires. And it does put a strain on the home network, a home network that is already strained in many sense. But the solutions that we have and the Wi-Fi that we're building into these boxes is quite robust. So there are choices there in terms of the number of antennas. And we have several customers that are deploying 4K over Wi-Fi today with a very good experience. So we're very confident that that will continue.
You've actually made an announcement at the show about this Wi-Fi issue as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, we announced what we call ARRIS Home Assure at the show, because whilst we talked about the video and how that's putting additional strain on the network, the fact is there's already strain on that network today, and that's around the fact that we are talking about gigabit speeds to the home, and the technologies to enable that are there, whether it be fiber to the home, DOCSIS 3.1, G.fast, etc. Those technologies are there. And I've been known to say that there's a battlefield that before it was felt how much speed could we get to the home. In many ways we have that now today. Sure. The experience is more about the in-home environment, and consumers are at times frustrated that they're not getting that ubiquitous in-home experience. So we felt it was time to tie in a lot of the different technologies and services that we have in ARRIS and really come out with a portfolio, a suite of products and solutions. So two aspects to that. One is more of a consumer-driven aspect, and that's about solving some of these issues that drive some of the calls to the call center. For instance, the number one issue or call to the call center about Wi-Fi is, what's my password? Yeah. And that's of course very, very frustrating when you need to put in that very long password into your devices. So a very simple tool that we have is via a mobile or a web UI is able to retrieve that in a way that doesn't require them to call the operator. We also have the ability for them to manage their home network and visualize what's going on in that network. And the other aspect to that is there's a growing belief that the single gateway in the home is not going to cover that Wi-Fi experience in a ubiquitous way. So there are more and more operators and consumers even that are going out and buying extenders. But that experience is not always seamless. There's a lot of setup issues, etc. So this solution, the ARRIS Home Assure, allows that extender to be connected very seamlessly. No need to enter any SSID or password information. It connects to the network. And then there are intelligent choices between the gateway and that extender in order to have the Wi-Fi devices that we have connect to the right access point. And then the final piece of that is really about the operator. They'll still get calls to the call center. And in many ways, they're not seeing what's going on in that home network. So our Eco product, as it's called, gives them a lot of tools and visibility so that when they do get that call, they understand what's happening in the network. And hopefully even, as we evolve this, is proactively solve issues even before they get that call. So we feel that that helps the 4K bottleneck, as you discussed, but it's much wider than that. It's really to have that unique, seamless experience throughout the home.
Okay, that sounds a really effective approach. Thanks, Anthony. That is all we've got time for, I'm afraid. So I'd like to thank you for taking part in this VideoNet interview at IBC 2017. And also to thank you, the audience, for watching. From Anthony and myself, it's goodbye.